legal legends to great people, Neil Goldberg and Tom Segalla. I am very proud and honored to be spending quality time and chatting with you today. I will start and throw it out there with a softball for both of you. Is what makes Tom Segalla and Neil Goldberg, what has comprised your DNA? What has gotten you to the point where you are today?
In my case, I have no recollection of ever wanting to be anything other than a trial attorney. My birthday cards from relatives used to say Neil Goldberg Esquire, even when I was 5 and 6 years old. So I always knew what I wanted to do. And because I had that love and passion for law and the legal system, I became very highly motivated to become the best lawyer I could be.
You had this Irish kid put into this strong Italian family, and that's where I got my work ethic. I was the first one to go to college. I really wanted to go to law school, but coming from a poor family, we had no money. So Tom Segalla went to work, and eventually 5 years later, ended up in law school at the University of Buffalo. And starting in 1972, we began practicing law. And not only did we become partners throughout the years, we become friends.
You're both nationally recognized, iconic deans in your respective practice areas. I take great pride when I can say my partner, Tom Segalla, literally wrote the book on insurance coverage. So Tom, why don't we start with you and let's chat about your career and your national rise in the insurance coverage area, and then we'll throw it over to Neil to talk about all the great accomplishments and trials and outcomes that he's had in the products liability field.
I was going to be an excellent lawyer, so I was going to school myself in the practice area that I happened to be involved in then, which was insurance defense and insurance coverage. But as importantly, I said to myself, Tom Segalla, become the best professional that you can become. And by that, I mean, provide a vehicle so that you're giving back to the profession. You're giving back to other lawyers, you're giving back to clients. So early on in my career, I started writing articles. I mean, you can search back until the mid 70s and see articles that I wrote, and I oftentimes put other associates or other partners' names on those articles. And along the way, I got a call from Thompson Boardman, which was a publisher in the insurance area. And they said, we're going through a revision of a international text, Couch on Insurance. We'd like you to consider being a co-author of the update. And I did it. Couch on Insurance Third, which at that juncture was a 17-volume treatise, and has become to be known as one of the Bibles of insurance.
In order to expose myself and the firm to the major clients I aspired for us to someday have, I called up the Practicing Law Institute and asked them if they would consider a product liability crashworthiness seminar. Remarkably, they said yes if I would share it. So I then went and called up the leading product liability lawyers, and I also called up General Motors and other automotive manufacturers, and I got them to participate on the seminar, which resulted in us eventually representing General Motors for many, many years. And that team, not Neil Goldberg, but that team won every General Motors case we tried. Well, that eventually caught the attention of a company called General Electric. And we ended up trying a number of matters for them, including getting parachuted into their worst case in the United States, a case called Hollister against General Electric. And we got GE out of the case for zero. And that became a stepping stone to even more catastrophic work from GE, firework from Lasco, and us doing work in various parts of the country.
You both have dispensed a lot of great advice through the years. What is the best professional advice you ever received?
I do remember it like it was yesterday. I really do. The former head of our department at the old firm gave me a product liability case to handle. And it involved a Fiat automobile. The transmission had exploded after 500 miles. And so it was clearly a liability case. And the national counsel for Fiat was a gentleman by the name of Fred Nathan. And he came up from New York, and I was handling the case with him. And he sort of liked me. And he said, "Kid, you're going to try this case." And I said, "Really? I mean, this," he said, "You are going to be as good as you allow yourself to be. You do this, and remember, what a person doesn't have an experience they can make up for by reading a book." And I will tell you categorically, after those words, I purchased and read as many books on trial technique as I could. And that stayed with me ever since, that Fred Nathan would take the time and very frankly have the courage to trust a young attorney to try a case where we had to admit liability. And by the way, we got a defense verdict.
When I got to law school, I was going to be the best tax lawyer that I could be. I never took any procedural courses except for New York practice, didn't take any evidence courses, didn't take any trial courses, and I don't even know if I took an insurance course. But I was going to be the best tax lawyer. I knew after the first 3 months that tax was boring. So the head of the litigation department had a labor law fall from a scaffolding case that he was trying in Western New York federal court. And he said, "Tom, I need an associate to do research and to help me with this case, and you can second chair it." And I said, "Really? I didn't even know what evidence was." So he said, "No, I think you'll like it." So we tried the case for maybe 3 weeks, got a defense verdict, and I went back to the corporate tax department. And then about a month later, he said, "I've got another case I'd like you to work on. And as a matter of fact, I would like you to join the litigation department. You're wasting your time in the tax department." And you're right, it is boring. So we tried another case together. We won, again, a New York labor law case. We won that case. And after that case, he took me out to dinner. And he said, "Whether you like it or not, you're moved into the litigation department because we need insurance litigators. And as a matter of fact, if you still want to work on regulations, you can work on coverage, insurance coverage." So that was the best advice that I was given. And I moved, and my career developed both in the defense of labor law, New York labor law cases. And as a matter of fact, I'm still the editor of a treatise, and the only treatise on New York labor law construction site personal injury litigation, which is in the process of being updated, I think, for the 4th time. So the best advice I got was, don't be a tax lawyer, be an insurance lawyer.
So you guys have been doing this a long time and you've done it great. this whole legal profession thing. Tom, tell us something about yourself that we don't know about you. And Neil, get ready, that same question's coming your way too.
Okay.
I like country music. And if I had to pick a song, Ronnie Millsap's I Wouldn't Give It Up for the World. It's the song. So that's probably something that people don't know about me, and that I can two-step and I can line dance.
There you go. Listen to that. Breaking news. And that might be the story, that might be the title of your book too. You wouldn't give it up for the world, right, Tom?
Right.
Neil, what don't we know about you?
Well, I mentioned obliquely that growing up, I grew up in a rather poor environment. I don't think many people know that I was a pretty tough, misbehaved kid, and indeed was formally adjudicated a juvenile delinquent by the state of New York in my earlier years. And part of their requirement in that era was that the judge would order that you had to do something to rehabilitate. And I was ordered to join the Flatbush Boys Club, which was in the Bedford-Stuyvesant section of Brooklyn. And over a period of time, I became a member of the boxing team of the Flatbush Boys Club, and was fairly successful boxing for the Flatbush Boys Club.
What makes us different? What makes Goldberg Segalla different compared to the other firms that you've had on the other side of the table, or as co-defendants, or that frankly you've been at in the past?
We've allowed people to develop individually, but more importantly, to develop as a team. And I don't see, and this is an old cliche, I don't see a lot of me. If over the years have seen someone who I wanted to develop, who I thought had the skills, if I saw them acting as a me, I didn't let it fester. I take them to lunch or I take them to breakfast, and I basically say, this is my perception. I may be right or I may be wrong, but let's discuss what it means to be a we and not a me, because I want to leave things in hands of people that are we thinking, that globally think for the betterment of our individual lawyers, who then in turn can globally think as to what benefits the firm as a whole.
I believe that we have legitimized a culture at the firm which makes us different, because I know for a fact that leadership starts at the top, and the present leaders of the firm, who both Tom and I have enormous respect for, are unselfish and very secure. And consequently, the culture that we have attempted so hard to legitimize is going to proceed in perpetuity along the lines it has in the past. And any young person or middle-aged person who wants to succeed somewhere is going to find it a lot more desirable and a lot more attractive to attempt to be successful in an environment where people actually care about their success. And I think that makes us very different, because in many, many firms, and this is not just anecdotal, I mean, it's written about all the time, people just create silos and they just work within the silo and it's all me, and that makes them much less successful. That's why we can cross-sell where others can't, because we're working unselfishly and with security, knowing that our collective efforts will be recognized.
You both are unbelievably special people, and I'm so proud to have spent the afternoon with both of you and had you as such impactful people in my life and as mentors to me. So we've truly been able to pass along some words of wisdom to our GS community, and we'll certainly be in touch soon and in person. But
From your mouth to God's ears, Joe.
And I truly want to thank both of you for your time, and I certainly know that the GS community we would not be where we are today without both of you. And we'll continue to grow and prosper and do great things with your steady leadership and your guidance. So we take great pride in your legacies and that Goldberg Segalla name. So thank you once again, Neil and Tom, for everything, and be safe and well, okay?
Back at you.
I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Thanks,
Thank
Joe.
you, guys.